And I wanted to take you through 10 different little things that maybe can help smaller brands get bigger. So number one, constant market orientation. The sooner and the more often, though, you can turn the circle from having an idea to talking to potential customers, to bringing those customers into the process, refining your idea, prototyping your idea, testing your idea, lead user inputs into your idea, turning the circle between you as a small entrepreneurial business and the market. I think that's one of the things smaller businesses can do that bigger businesses struggle to do. Number two, reversing the marketing process. I do think there's a case for essentially taking out research and dropping it in later on. Number three, don't sweat the quant numbers too much. Instead, this idea of ethnography, going out in a very qualitative way with small numbers, going deep and spending time with customers, watching them, talking to them, interacting with them in very unscientific ways and getting to know them is a big advantage and something, again, larger companies can't do. Number four, pick on the big guy. Well, there's two ways to position a brand. The standard way is to position to the target customer. This is what I offer. But there's a second route. You can do that, but at the same time, you can also position against an alternative, more famous brand in the market. This is what I stand for, and I stand for it because this guy is a wanker, and I'm not a wanker. Do you see what I mean? There's no reason you can't do both channels at the same time. Avis famously did it by pointing out they were second and to Hertz's first, and they would therefore try harder because Hertz were basically a bunch of shit. Virgin spent a very successful 10 years positioning against British Airways for basically being British Airways. Number five, poor person's pricing. So in a big company, we can basically pretty accurately work out what the price should be to make the most money. You can't do that in a small company. For smaller companies, make sure you understand the power of price. If you want to understand the profitability of your small business, you need to understand how a single percentage point increase in price will have a significant impact on profitability, much more than selling more or reducing costs would have. The second lesson is start high. You can always go lower. Most managers do the opposite and underprice their products. If you're in B2B, for example, you don't want to win much more than half. If you start winning more than half, it's a surefire signal that you're probably underpricing things. Now, that sounds mad, right? Why would you want to lose business? You'll be making far more profit from far less production, from far less customers, and going on a much better journey. Our next challenge, have a strategy first. So again, there's a tendency in small businesses to spend every day working very hard, just fighting tactical fires. Strategy and the idea of choice and what you don't do is way more important than for a big business. Number seven is we don't have quant data. We can't set quant objectives, and therefore we can't do a lot of the brand planning process. So what do you do in a small business where you don't have that information? I would recommend you create two pots of money. A long pot, which is the money designed for the top of the funnel. Awareness, consideration, salience, brand building. Remember, the long of it, the rough definition is you're not asking for anything specific. There's no particular response, right? This is a long-term thing you're trying to achieve. And then the other proportion focused on the shorter, activated, bottom of funnel stuff aimed at particular segments and getting a specific ROI from them. So as you see here, it becomes 65% activation and only 35% for longer-term brand building. After that first year, you can see how the optimum budget split begins to move more towards brands. So you don't want to be hanging around too long. Number eight, a big one. You want a small branded house. And most small business marketing people like to make new stuff. You want as few brands, ideally just one brand, to focus all of your resources, time, effort, profitability, tracking, investments, etc. Number nine, let the brand move. And I use the analogy of the difference in planning a child's life and then watching that life unfold. That feeling of, hang on a minute, all these plans are it's moving this way and I can't stop it, is very much what it's like, I think, when you have a brand in the early stages. And finally, enjoy it. The great Anita Roddick was famous for saying, and Anita Roddick always said, if it isn't fun, then don't do it anymore.